Hey, what's up? I'm Tech Bro here. Today we are reviewing the Tecno Camon 19 Pro. A smartphone with an interesting design, a big screen and a new main camera with optical stabilization. And exotic for some markets. Let's get started. Let's take a look at the package. In a nice box found simple wired headphones, cable USB A USB-C charger and a soft silicone case. There was also a protective film. In my case it was already glued to the screen. And of course, the smartphone itself. The manufacturer has radically changed the design of the 19 series. I am familiar with the previous Camon 18P, so sometimes I will compare the new one with it. So, there was a usual rectangular podium with lenses in a row. Here the rear cameras are made in two big circles. Yes, the design is not super unique, but it is not found in every other Chinese smartphone. Only some models from Huawei come to mind. The circles protrude, so that the effect of swinging appears on a flat surface. A silicone case does not compensate for this. The body of the smartphone is plastic. Several colors are available for sale. I have a black version in my review, with blue highlights in the light. The surface of the back panel is very pleasant to the touch. Plus, it is matte, textured, and therefore not stained. The sides are flat and glossy. On the left side is only the tray. It is full-fledged, double-sided. On one side you can insert two SIM cards, on the other side you can insert a memory card. The tray also has a rubber seal, apparently, protecting against dust and moisture. On the right side there are volume buttons and almost no protruding power button with a built-in fingerprint scanner. Recognition and unlocking is very fast and accurate. The smartphone, of course, also has face unlock with the front camera. On the top end there is only an additional microphone. On the bottom there is a mini jack for headphones, a microphone, a USB-C version 2.0 connector with OTG support, and a speaker. The speaker here is mono. The sound plays loudly, but in terms of quality is average. Vibration in the smartphone is also usual, average. In the front there is an unexpected screen. The top and side frames are thin, the same width. Only the chin is clearly wider. The front camera is placed in a hole in the center. The speaker and sensors are located almost on the edge, which has not affected the comfort during calls. There is no LED notification indicator. Finally, the screen itself. This is a large, 6.8-inch IPS panel with full HD Plus resolution. The smartphone is comfortable to hold in the hands due to the elongated proportions. Brightness is around 480 nits, which for the average segment is normal. There is no support for HDR content. A big plus of the screen is the support of high refresh rate of 120 Hz. In the settings you can select the usual 60 Hz. For example, in order to save the battery power. You can select the automatic selection of frequency, but then 120 Hz is used only in the system interface and settings, and in all applications the frequency is lowered to 60 Hz. Well, an honest 120 Hz. Then the frequency is constant everywhere. The only exception is a few apps from Google. In Play Market then the frequency drops to 90 Hz, and in Maps and YouTube it drops to 60 Hz. When the battery is less than 30%, the frequency at any setting is locked to 60 Hz. The colors are very saturated, the temperature is cooler than usual. On the one hand this is loved by most users. Bright and juicy. Watching videos or playing games is a pleasure. On the other hand, it is not the best choice for serious photo editing, because you cannot see the real colors. And there are no color profiles to choose from. In general, the approach to screen calibration is similar to the 18 series. I used to turn on the vision protection mode on the minimum setting to get a moderately neutral picture. The manufacturer almost completely used the hardware from the Camon 18P. The same MediaTek Helio G96 processor inside. A good, proven solution. And most importantly, it is still relevant in terms of performance and capabilities for the segment of affordable smartphones. It is paired with 8 GB of RAM and 128 GB of main storage. The RAM can be virtually expanded at the expense of the main storage, and the main storage can be expanded at the expense of memory cards. The results of synthetic tests are almost the same as its predecessor. Here are screenshots of Geekbench, 3D Mark and 1-hour CPU throttling test. In reality, of course, not everything is perfect, but there are no obvious lags. Enough for everyday tasks. For games also no change. Asphalt 9 runs smoothly on medium settings. No problem with the shooters like Call of Duty or PUBG. There is the whole basic set of wireless interfaces. Dual-band Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.2, GPS and NFC for payment. There's also an FM radio. You only need to plug in wired headphones for it to work. Tecno's smartphones always have high-capacity batteries. Here the capacity is 5,000 mAh. At 120 Hz smartphone will last a day and a half under average load. If the frequency is lowered, then enough for 2 days. The charger in the kit is fast, 33 watts. The battery charges from 0 to 100 in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. The Camon 19 Pro runs the proprietary iOS 8.6 and Android 12. The system has a huge number of settings and additional features. I will not list everything, otherwise I would have to do a separate full review. Of the useful, such as call recording and the ability to clone applications. Many applications pre-installed. Even additional application stores. On the downside, pre-installed apps often cannot be deleted. In addition, they like to constantly report something and quickly clutter up notifications. Finally, the cameras. At the back there are 2.5 cameras. The main one has a 64MP module with optical stabilization, an improved lens and white pixels on the sensor. In addition to it back a portrait module with double zoom at 50MP and a camera to measure the depth of the scene. The manufacturer also added laser focusing. By default, when shooting with the 64-megapixel module, we get 16-megapixel photos at the output. At the same time, AI mode is enabled by default. In fact, this mode only increases the saturation. You get juicy, postcard quality photos ready for Instagram. Sometimes this coloring comes out too much. Then I advise you to turn off the AI button at the top of the camera app. The result will only change to a more natural color. In any case, the smartphone does a good job with HDR. Post-processing also adds a strong increase in sharpness. It is not worth shooting at full 64MP. The file size increases by a factor of 3, but there is no improvement in detail. The Camon 19 Pro looks to me like a smartphone not for serious shooting followed by manual photo processing in a photo editor. Rather, it is more like point-and-shoot and upload to Instagram. Although the Pro mode with all sorts of manual settings is present. The second module, like its predecessor, has a 2x zoom lens. In terms of color, detail and dynamic range, it is as close as possible to the main one. For travel, such a zoom is not much for today's times. But exactly for portrait photography, why not? Don't expect any miracles at night. It is a mid-range camera. But the night mode and optical stabilization let you get something. You can definitely feel the difference compared to the normal photo mode. But it is better not to use the zoom when there is a lack of light. Nothing has changed here compared to its predecessor. Video shooting. The Camon 19 Pro shoots at a maximum of 2K or 1440p, 30 frames per second. In this mode, the picture is the best quality. Detailed, with nice color. Optical stabilization reduces some judder, but it is still better not to move actively. It is possible to activate the electronic stabilization. Then the shooting is done in full HD. The picture is clearly smoother, but rougher, loose. You can activate HDR in the video settings separately. I did not appreciate this mode. The colors are too specific in comparison to the standard shooting. It is possible, though, that in some extreme conditions it will be useful to someone. The situation is similar at night. The most tasty and detailed picture when shooting at 2K. But the electronic stabilization adds its own not very pleasant effect. selfie camera at 32MP daytime selfies are very good, both color and light. Compared to its predecessor, the detail has clearly improved. At least the gray in my beard is worked out more accurately. Oddly, this model has removed eye focusing and the front flash. The portrait mode for background blur is so average implemented here. On the plus side, the dynamic range is not degraded. The disadvantage is that the blur outline is not very accurate. There is a dedicated beauty mode with ready-to-use processing templates. You can tweak not only the face, but also the figure. The result can be extreme. I don't think so much makeup looks good on me. When shooting at night, you can use night mode. It works relatively well. You just need to keep your hands steady. Otherwise, you can easily catch a shaky motion. The front camera shoots video similar to the main. The best picture when shooting in 2K, but without stabilization. There is an electronic stabilization when shooting full HD. Night videos are tolerable. The only thing is very obvious noise. Here is an example of shooting in 2K. And here is full HD with electronic stabilization. Separately, I will also mention that video shooting has two more modes. Beauty mode, where the face is enhanced in real time, and bokeh mode. They work both when shooting on the rear and front camera. The video resolution is limited to 720p. Here is an example of such a video with background blur in real time. The effect is interesting, though the outline of my head is not perfect. Prices and conclusions. The Tecno Camon 19 Pro at the time of this video is about $200 to $260, depending on the market. As a result, we get a smartphone with a large and fast IPS screen, with an interesting design, an interesting battery, a good amount of storage and an interesting set of cameras, one of which has optical stabilization. Weaknesses. I will not mention the plastic body here. To the touch and to the sight it is pleasant, not worse than glass. I will rather recall a couple of functions of the front camera, which were in the predecessor. Plus, I would like to have at least some settings for the color of the screen. Well, less notifications from pre-installed apps and some kind of LED indicator. Hardware is not to the pros and cons. An acceptable option for this price. That's been it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.